Hey y'all, my name is Aubrey Richardson. I'm a licensed professional counselor in the state of Texas, and I am a therapist. I specialize in helping folks who want to recover from people pleasing, perfectionism, and overachieving, who are therapists, caregivers, helpers, and folks who have been acting like someone's therapist for their entire lives. And today we're going to do a short question and answer session on people pleasing. Question number 1. How can I set boundaries without feeling guilty or selfish? Y'all are probably going to hate this answer, but you actually cannot guarantee that you're not going to have a reaction like feeling guilty or feeling selfish when you set a boundary. Feeling guilty is actually not a problem. Guilt gives us information that we have made a choice that goes against our values. And if we hold a lot of value in being a helper and being a caregiver, we may feel guilty for setting a boundary. But that guilt does not mean that we made the wrong choice. And for all of my folks who say, oh, I'm so afraid to feel selfish, I would encourage you to clearly define what it means to be selfish. For most of my folks, being selfish really means having a need, any need, and asking for it to be met. Your definition of selfish is probably very different than how we commonly use that word. And again, even if you felt selfish and you were like, wow, I really, this is really all about me. Okay, that's fine. What if things really were all about you for a hot minute? Question number 2. Why do I feel compelled to say yes to everything, and how can I change this habit? The very human part of me wants to be like, girl, same. But the therapist part of me will answer this question. For a lot of folks who say yes when they don't really mean it, when they really want to say no, but they say yes anyway, it tends to come from a belief that our worth is tied up in how helpful we can be. That the only way that we know how to receive love is by doing, is by being helpful, is by being small without needs. We have learned to monitor the environment, to anticipate other people's needs, and to try to control that in order to feel emotionally or physically safe. Those are generalizations. Those may or may not apply to you. It may be part of the story. It may be the whole story. That's a wonderful thing to explore between you and your therapist. And how can you change this habit? There are so many ways. For a lot of folks, having the insight of where this came from can be incredibly helpful. Reminding yourself that we act in ways that align with how we truly see ourselves. So if we are constantly saying yes when we really mean no, we are not thinking very highly of ourselves. And so practice saying, what decision would I make if I thought really highly of myself? If I thought I was worthy of love no matter what I did? That can be a really beautiful way to practice a different way of changing that habit. The last little thing that's in my mind here that I want to share is so many of us feel compelled to say yes, even though we don't want to, because we feel like there's some sort of pressure in this situation. Like someone is looking at us eyeballs to eyeball. There's a time constraint. Like we feel pressured to give an answer. And so something that I'll tell my clients that I do myself is to give yourself some time and space to think away from the question. So it might sound something like, let me take a look at my calendar, or let me think about it and get back to you. No, but I reserve the right to change my answer. Question number 3, how can I deal with the fear that people will be disappointed or upset if I say no? That is a very realistic fear. People may be disappointed or upset if you say no, especially if they are used to you being a yes person. And that is an incredibly valid feeling. You are allowed to feel your feelings, whatever they may be. All feelings are valid. And if that is true for us, that is true for other people. I think it makes so much sense that if someone is used to your help, your emotional labor, whatever it may be, that if you take that away and say, no, I'm not available, no, I'm not doing that, they probably are going to be upset because things are changing, and change is hard and scary for everyone. People who have previously benefited from you having no boundaries will probably have a reaction when they no longer have the benefit of that. And that's okay. You can practice what is called distress tolerance, or the ability to sit with tough shit, so that when you set those boundaries and that person has a reaction, you can internally remind yourself that other people's feelings are none of your business. Question number 4. What techniques can I use to stop prioritizing others' needs over my own well-being? The first thing that comes to mind is getting really clear on your values. Something that can be really helpful with that is a values card sort. You can just Google that, do it online, you can print it out to help you really identify what your values are so that you can make values-based decisions. Another technique is to be able to identify your feelings. So if you're starting to notice anger or resentment come up after you make a decision, that's a pretty good sign that we are not taking care of ourselves there. Question number 5. How do I deal with the anxiety of others not liking me or my decisions? Yeah, that's tough. We all want to be liked. That's so normal, so human of us. We want to be liked and accepted. And the unfortunate reality is that not everyone is going to like us, just like you don't really like everyone. And they're not going to like all of your decisions. For me, the most important thing to think through is that if I make this decision and this other person doesn't like me or doesn't approve of this decision, what consequences may I face? What might I lose? What might I gain? How important is this person's approval to me? Kind of weighing the pros and cons. And again, learning to sit with that distress and that discomfort of knowing that someone disapproves. And part of what's helpful with that is knowing that this person may not approve, but I approve, but I feel really good about this decision. Number 6, how can I separate my self-worth from others' approval? The first thing that pops into my mind is that our self-worth is tied up in external validation. And so really shifting that validation externally, internally. Again, that says no matter what I do, how productive I am, how helpful I am, whatever it may be, that I am still a good person. Really thinking through what are the things that make me me? What are the wonderful things about me that the people who love me will always love me for? And those things have very little to do with our productivity or our helpfulness. So really digging into what makes me worthy and valuable outside of the jobs and roles and tasks that have been assigned to us. And this can be really difficult because so many of us identify as I'm a therapist, I'm a mother, I'm a friend. And those things are true, and also those are only pieces of your identity, and they are not what makes you beautiful and wonderful and special. Question number 8 is one that I feel like we've talked about today, which is how do I cope with the discomfort of upsetting others when I set boundaries? Carefully, mindfully. So I'm going to combine question number 8 with question number 9. And so question 9 says, what are the early signs of people pleasing and how can I catch myself before it happens? Knowing your triggers are so important. So this can be really helpful while you're in a calm, regulated state to think about what are the people, places, things, feelings that are more likely for me to betray and abandon myself by engaging in people-pleasing behaviors. So for most of us, they have to do with some level of discomfort or feeling unsafe. And not being regulated. So for me, I know that if I'm already feeling tired or overwhelmed, my boundaries can absolutely go out the window. And so I will be like, yeah, sure, because I just don't have the energy emotionally or physically to say no. So that's something that I have to be really mindful of, is that if I'm not in a regulated state, if I'm really tired, I need to start saying, like, let me think about this before I just give an answer. Again, feeling pressured, feeling resentful, feeling angry, not having enough white space on your calendar, feeling feeling pressured by friends or colleagues. Like, if I don't do this thing, there might be a negative consequence. And something so important to remember is that you can always change your mind. You can always take it back. You can always say no. Even if your mouth betrays you the first time, you can go back and fix it. Question number 10. We saved the best for last. How can I recover from people-pleasing behavior that's already caused burnout? Number 1, I want you to stop doing the things that have taken you to a place of burnout. So if that is you've been taking on too many clients, stop taking on new clients. If you are checking your emails all the time of the day, quit it with love. Quit it. We want to stop the things that have gotten us to a place of burnout, and we want to make systemic changes in our life to reverse that burnout. Burnout is not an individual problem. It is a systemic problem that we love to place that responsibility on the person of, like, well, you just need to take better care of yourself. And the answer is normally, I need to stop being taken advantage of in so many situations. Like, if you are a therapist or a social worker who has worked in the hospitals, you know this language. You know that the answer that the system will give you is like, oh, well, then you need to work harder. Like, maybe you're not cut out for this. When the truth is closer to, you need to stop expecting me to do superwoman, Superman things with no resources. Systemic change to make sure that we don't get to this place again. And then I would also recommend trying to live more life, doing the things that bring you joy, that bring you comfort, that make you laugh. Do more of those things and less of the things that make you feel burned out. Thank you so much for watching my video today. There will be one final video of this series on overachieving coming out later this month. So if you have any questions that you want to see answered, call me, beat me, you know how to reach me. And I will see y'all in the therapy room.